changes that were made on the January 30th.
So this is the updated one?
Yes.
Yes, the same one, yeah. Okay.
Okay, so those were the changes that were made in January 30th. And then, I think the first thing that was brought up was a draft timeline.
Something that I guess I'm not understanding anything there. When we say attachment A,
Yeah, I don't see attachment A.
those because there aren't attachments.
Yeah, there was no attachment.
We don't attach anything yet, we're calling them attachments, and I think that's confusing. So I would appreciate if we take out attachment A, or else we attach A.
And I'll put in ready. Okay, there is no attachment. She did a handout.
She should have put the handout.
Yes,
She
but
gave us a
she-
handout.
But it says attachment in, so it's not an attachment or it would be with this document, so. She gave us a handout, so it's nice. Yeah, so need to remove and or rephrase, remove or reword.
Or, what do you want that?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Why don't we adhere to that attachment?
Yeah,
We have our own timeline,
yeah, we did.
and so I don't know.
That was a starting,
Yeah.
that was a starting. Reviewed a draft timeline, but we did not make any, I think the rest of this discussion is more about what we had in the timeline. I think somebody had down March 27th on the calendar, I think that's where I first did it down. That was this movie. I think there's another meeting next door, I think.
Number 4, review of probability statistics standards. I don't think I handed out anything. I think she's talking about what I gave out to geometry.
So, well, you already moved beyond this. Is there
Oh, I'm
any, are
sorry.
there any changes to this? And did we say June 1st or the first, around the 1st of June? I don't know, we said a hard on date of June 1st, but that's just a couple of days after we have on. And I don't personally remember, does anybody here remember? Did we say June 1st?
I do believe that we said that we would have it ready by June.
By June, or I thought the first week of June, I didn't think June 1st.
Yeah, but it was adjusted,
So, what is our May meeting date? Are we waiting to decide?
We have 2 days down, May 26th and 27th.
23rd is not.
Yeah, we're meeting the Tuesday and Wednesday after Memorial Day.
Yes.
27th, right?
So,
That's what I thought. I was trying to.
And are we going to, at this point in time, just decide to meet for the 2 days, I know there was discussion of 2, and then on the second, like, then or we just say, we know that.
I think we'll need, I kind of believe we'll probably need that time, because there's a whole thing that we'll talk about later about surveys, that if we decide what we want to do, how we're going to do feedback, we may work on it that day, so I think we're going to need,
So we'll just plan on.
I think just plan on 2 days, unless something happens in the next week or 2 hours. I think we just plan on that point.
She's doing some girl. Oh. He'll see now.
Yes, indeed. And I think we discussed holding regional meetings, but I think at the end, we'll have to talk about that today. I don't think we decided. I think at the end, we were doing more just for feedback. So, was that what your perspective was? I'm not sure we really.
I didn't get that when you said that.
Well, it says the group discussed holding regional meetings around the state during this week. However, I thought when we left, I was under the understanding that we weren't going to hold regional meetings, we were just going to do electronic feedback. We also did, but we did talk about electronic at that time too, and that was not here.
We had, I guess you do electronic, I mean, and then whether or not we still met and.
It said very, I guess we
I
could
think
be
it's
very.
part of what this says in here, June first. I don't
Okay.
think it says the survey, but it's the releasing of it.
And underneath it, yeah.
Common digital, okay.
Right.
Okay. Okay, so are we okay with what's in three, and then additions, we leave it as is, just with that, part about the attachment? There's a handout instead. So looking,
Instead of what, like you said, review or reword, I would just put in.
there is no attachment, it was a handout was
Right,
provided.
so, yes. I just put changes to minute, no, there is no attachment A. That would work. The group reviewed a draft timeline for delivery of the final document for State Board of Education. That's what we did, there is no attachment.
Okay, so just cross out?
That's what I did, that's what I put in the minutes for today,
Okay.
as a change to the minutes of that day.
Okay. And then are we ready to move on to four then? Bob, what was you saying?
Well, it says that
Provide
provided proposed rewrites of probability statistics and everything happens. The rewrites were adopted, which is my summary, so I think that falls in five.
So, Bob, we provide with this, so this.
Talked about some possible changes to probability statistics, but I didn't have any of that day.
So I'm gonna right now X that out, that copy it down, and put it down below.
Yeah, I don't know what attachment B is, but I know what I handed out, so that's what attachment B is.
So like putting delete second sentence, is that correct, or delete?
And then provide rewrites of those standards, which were the geometry standards that you
Ones that
provided
we
rewrites,
discussed,
right?
yes.
And that wasn't attachment B, that was a handout.
Yeah. And it's in the Dropbox, so if you remain it.
Okay.
Maybe a new one this time. So. New version.
Okay. Any, with the changes that we had here, any other comments, any other changes, revisions that we made here?
So you took that sentence and you put it down below.
Because that's what you provided, and it was attachment B. Okay. With these changes, then, does anybody want to make a motion to approve? With any changes? So, your motion is approved with any of the changes. Okay, any second on that motion? And all those in favor? All those opposed? And you're saying, we're missing a vote. And, but we're glad you're in that. All right. So I'm going to say this, and Nancy's putting those in minute, but I'm going to say this kind of thing where I'm going to put us to. All right. So I had sent out, an agenda, well, it's just a draft agenda, so let me pull that up. And then we'll see if we want to make tweaks, adjustments, or where we think we want to prioritize, we get started with it. We've already approved the minutes. We're talking about things we had on the agenda for today was that public comment survey, template for standards, dates for July and August, and questions Anything else? Okay, part of the minutes, it talked about, that Deborah and Tiffany were gonna talk to their folks in their district offices or in their technical people about technology, about dealing with surveys and things of that nature. So do you guys wanna talk about what you found out?
Actually, Kathy and I met with our director of research and assessment, who does most of the surveys and collection and data for our district. And after talking to him for a while, pretty much what we think would be best would probably be a Google form, a survey through Google Forms, just because of the capabilities that that has. And then having a link, hopefully from the DESI website, where people can access the complete document of the standards, so that they can look at those in whole, and then also have the link to the survey, so that they can reference back to the document as they choose. And then one thing that we had talked about was setting some standards for criteria, not standards for criteria, I guess. Well, I guess standards to measure the standards, so that we can get some feedback that's more quantitative in nature, that we can tabulate more easily. For example, if we had criteria that folks can evaluate the standards, like, you know, does it make sense, just the content, or does it fit where it's supposed to fit? You know, whatever that criteria is, then for the Google survey, the Google form, then we could have an item for
parse through the whole thing to get to it, or they can go to the part that's pertinent to them, so that a high school teacher who may not want to comment on 6th through 8 can go to that section, or a, you know what I'm saying? Because, yeah, that's when they kind of get bogged down in the surveys, is when they don't want, they have to go through all this stuff that's really bad to them. But
I think
are we
there's-
saying that they can enter at any point and
Well, I
comment
think
on what they want?
That's what I, oh, go ahead. The way I would see it is that per grade, so if they don't want to look at 6th
The
grade.
grade for course, right.
Then they pick 6th grade, and we like, the surveys we do, like the faculty things, institution, there's a page, and that page will have, that cluster of stuff with the Likert scale things, and a comment box at the bottom. I understand what you're saying about not collecting comments, but to me, the comments help me know if they're saying something that I really need to pay attention to.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
We was just saying, trying to limit the.
I understand.
the
But I think if you have a comment on every cluster,
Right.
somebody can comment on that stuff. If they don't even want to look at that cluster, the way our surveys work, when we use survey, even I'm sure it's the same with Google, you skip that page, you don't have. So in other words, you can look at the page and I don't care, go to the next.
Well,
And
it's
it's
not
only
about-
gonna be what, in 6th grade, what would there be, maybe 4 or 5 pages, you know? So I mean, yeah, I think they can go quickly through and do exactly what they want to do.
So we don't bog down, people who are concerned about the upper high school courses with going through.
Right.
If somebody wants to go through all of them, sure.
I would think
Or you
have
are a
a
6th grade
system.
teacher who doesn't feel qualified to comment on any.
Yeah, I think you have a separate survey.
Got it.
Yeah.
So,
Like,
we're suggesting surveys per course, per grade or course, to include Likert scales and comment sections.
Right, and I think was, I don't know, and I'll be honest, I don't know if anybody else knows enough about Google Forms. I just got started. Yeah, but.
Taking charge on paper.
But how to skip to another page, how to do those things, that I don't know. I think they're pretty easy to do. And one of the reasons, when we were talking with the tech person at Riverside, is that, if you do SurveyMonkey, it pretty much has to be one person, a point person doing all the work, where if you do Google Forms, I think you can have collaborators, so everybody can be in. We would have to decide, which is I think a big piece today, is what questions, how we want it worded, phrase it, work on that together as a team, but then each team individually could probably import their information where they wanted it. Dave probably knows a lot more about it than I do about how we should do this, or somebody in here a lot more than I do about how we should import the information. I think we also would want to collect data on if they're an administrator, if they're a parent, if they're, if they're a classroom teacher, if they're post-secondary education, or other, and maybe explain what their other might be. They may not be in the teaching, they might be somebody that's just looking for the real estate they want to make comments on. But that would help us then, and I think there's a way, if I'm not mistaken, that they can check all of the apply. Because there's a difference between, there's a drop-down box, and there's a checklist, and there's a multiple choice. And so that checklist would allow them to check all that apply to them. So if they're a classroom teacher and a parent, they can check them all. Well, I think that's what we have to do, and I don't know, Dave, obviously is more of an expert at this than I am, is that 6th grade, it could be a survey just for 6th grade, a survey just for 7th grade, but there's probably ways to do the
Or
homework.
you can, on the first page, you can have, pick which one you're interested in, and it'll take you directly to that part.
What if they're interested in all of them?
You can have that as an option.
So, like middle school, they can select 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, 6th to 8th grade as a cluster, high school, or select all, so, yeah. So, and I have no idea.
6th through 8 in algebra, because the
Right.
schools, and, a lot of the schools.
So it could be check all that apply, and then would they know, I don't know, I don't know.
I would
that
almost
would-
rather it be, just thinking of someone who might take a survey, I think it would almost be easier if we still kept it as separate links, because even if I wanted to review 6 through 8, I don't necessarily have the time to
Right, well, that's what I'm saying, is that- and then they could pull it all up, and then they can see the whole thing, and they could print it off if they wanted to. They can view it and they can print it off, we wanna make sure it's a PDF, and with dates and everything on there, so that if you can draft all over the place, and draft as of this date. Right, but that way they could also, I'm the person that sometimes just likes to have a paper copy in front of me, and while they're taking the survey, they could have that paper copy. And then they would see that, I know people will keep that, is they will see that we read what they did, and we made changes, we may not have made the change they recommended, but that they can see that we did make changes, which is obviously after doing the survey, that took some time to do that. So,
Yeah, I think that would be really good that. People interacting in good faith and trying to be helpful, you know, that they would want to see, you know, is my concern actually addressed somewhere else? You know, I may not agree with the way it's addressed, but, you know, where do they win this? Is it, oh, it's right here, you know, then they can, you know, do I agree with that or do I not? But,
right.
you know, so then if you say, you know, I don't think this is a great, I think this is helpful, you know, that comment could go either way.
And then we'd have to decide based upon what we feel that, where it goes. So I think it is what I'm hearing, that we think it's best to do 6 separate surveys then, a survey for 6th grade, a survey for 7th grade, or not, I've heard different things.
I only hear it six months.
With 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, algebra 1, geometry 2.
So my question is, are we gonna address a fourth course?
Yeah, algebra two, or is algebra two beyond, or sort of trying to treat it like it's both in some ways, but for purposes of this, I don't know.
Well, and I guess part of it is, are we definitely writing standards for full course? I'm not sure.
That's why
I'm not sure that was our
we can
direction.
do it later, but.
Yeah, I'm not sure that was our direction. We always wanted to with the learning goals, and then when those didn't move forward, then there was no reason to put our time into writing. Because you're running into some of those issues about pre-calculus, okay, they're going to get it for college credit here, so they have to do these things, and so there's always some issues that we have to deal with. So, but those are good questions.
Yeah, and that was my, I don't want to get off on that right now because it's not time, but, you know, yeah, making suggestions for that fourth course is one thing, but actually having, you know, the thou shalt is, I'm not in agreement with that. I don't know anybody who's
I'm not either.
we are, so, okay. So then it still comes back, how do you have the feedback, but, and how do you present it?
So, thou shalt not, thou shalt. Should I put that in?
Yeah, right, so, what am I saying here? Yeah, I feel like we shouldn't be, you know, mandating standards for a workforce, that's what I agree.
And can I recap what I have so far, because I am not animated.
You go right ahead.
I have an electronic, or discussion of electronic survey. Deborah Miller reported Google survey suggestion to include rubric for standards. Tiffany added Google Forms quantitative data needed, limit comments, possible drop-down menu to identify clarifications needed to standards. Survey per grade or course to include Likert scales, comment sections per cluster or domain, role of respondent, parent, teacher, admin, other. Participant to choose any or all separate surveys, correct? And provided a link of draft copy, and I bolded draft, a copy of standards for each course for participant to do while taking the survey. Is that kind of what we've said here? Because I'll be writing something, you don't keep
I
talking.
think the building, and I'm not
You're
sure.
doing an awesome job, and if I just say that, thank you for that, and maybe we should do some like shifts, I mean, I'm so bad at it, I need to volunteer.
Well, what I appreciate is as we finish each section, if we just review that I've captured what we've said.
I think
Because
that's great. Did we put in that survey post-secondary, would we want,
as that as a category.
as a category, post-secondary education, right? Because I think we're gonna have university that, university staff, they're gonna review the document, and we need to find out from the university staff. And, you know, and they could even put down what their role is, because they might be math ed people, you know, they might be somebody in,
Oh.
yeah, engineering.
And, and I was just gonna say, you know, that, I mean, you could leave it for people to provide, and I don't know if you're
Yes, ours is meant to be that way. I don't know if it can be done that way where you can identify this is a parent, this is a middle school.
If you set it up the normal way that you set one up, if it's gonna take you through those kind of identifying questions about what kind of teacher, whatever, and then you continue on into the survey, they'll be connected.
So they can be grouped.
So we could.
If you don't want it that way, you'll have to set it up somewhat different.
Okay, that's good, that's good. I think we want it that way.
Okay, that one, Tiffany, and I don't have time to take all the surveys I want at once, then I'm gonna have to enter that identifying data each time I enter the survey.
That would be a downside.
But it would be great.
But I think that's something that you say, because I may answer the sixth grade survey as a parent. But I may answer the algebra 1 or 2 as a teacher, and so I think that's good that you can put it in. And then you're not checking 3 things, and we're trying to decide which viewpoint.
Which one you want.
So you don't like the idea that they're all separate, and you can choose 3, 4, or whatever.
But that particular, that's a good idea.
I'd say it would be staff to bring.
We also might want to collect this, geographic data in terms of where in the state people are from, to see if at the end we're getting a representation.
Just a count, say we get this percentage from the county. That's it.
So by region or by,
County or region.
I don't know if we can, I don't know if we would do that. How would you do the county?
I don't know, I mean, I don't know what I'm going to type in.
So, a map, I mean, we have a map, though, it's so that they can link to and say they're from this region.
Well, it's good. Like, if you look for a job, there's a map, it's hard to be.
Yeah, we have those 9 on PVC, before we want.
You could have a map, and just have them put it using your hand.
Would the region really matter as far as the feedback?
No, she said for demographics.
It'd be nice to see if you were represented everywhere.
I think that's something that we definitely keep in mind. Yeah, that would be nice, but how hard that would be to collect that data, I don't know. But it would be interesting though, from us, from the perspective, if you have this one area that maybe is pretty isolated, because they don't have a lot of professional development, a lot of things going on, and they're having difficulty with some of these issues where everybody else isn't, and that could be a feeder to ask and say, okay, this geographic region needs some help with professional development, or maybe somehow.
That's more for me about
Yeah,
when we take this to the board.
yes.
I mean, there's things we want for feedback, but there
Right.
also something we want to say is, look, we did this, we got representative data from these groups of people, we
Right.
got feedback from all the regions of the state. I mean, that's the reason we want to do that.
Yeah, and I also just think in terms of data collection, we're gonna take the time to make a, hopefully, valid survey, data collection tool. Maybe we do wanna collect some other, even if it's just demographic data, because possibly someone can use it in the future for something else to assist the math world.
Right.
in that respect, if you can figure out in addition to, sort of geographic representations, this wouldn't be geographic, but if you look at Kansas City area, you've got urban and suburban, and I think those things can be pretty different. So,
Urban, suburban, rural, right, Jen?
yeah, I mean, that
can set it up so that they can only take the survey once. The problem with Google Docs is if you do that, they have to have a Google account to do that. Is that correct? You know what I mean? And so I don't know, I like the fact that we would set that so they can only do it once. But I don't know, would people be opposed to having to have a Google account to be able to do that?
Well, and how do you, and I'm just asking, how do you then re-enter to take a separate one?
Every form would be different, so they can go into,
Okay,
so if they were separate
titles
titles.
are different.
Yeah, if we made it separate links, then we could. My only concern about that was everybody would have to have a Google account, and I don't know where the people.
Some limit, not to take a survey, but for there's a limitation on.
They can only one, exactly.
They would have to have it.
Right.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're not, if we're gonna have it both ways, that's the problem.
Right,
That's
exactly.
the only reason. I don't know, I think, no matter how you set it up, people can do it multiple times a day. That's what I've learned. So
You never
that's
log
why,
into somebody else's Google
last
account.
time when we talked, I made a comment that I don't, hope we don't look at this. This is the one danger of numbers, Deborah, is that, you know, I hope we don't just look at it and say, well, 75% of the people said this. You can't say that unless you know for sure everybody did it one time. And even if you do, who are those 75%? You know, we don't know if they're, you know, high school kids, we don't know. So what we have to do is look at the things they say and see if it makes sense to us as a group. I don't think this is a straw poll vote.
I agree. One thing that we talked about that made a lot of sense to me was not even necessarily looking at, I mean, yes, we're gonna look at the feedback that we give us, but more so just looking at, for example, if one standard or one item gets a lot of feedback, then that's something we need to take a closer look at as a team. And not like, you know, like you said, not necessarily a straw vote, but by the quantity of the feedback and not even necessarily the quality, it's something we probably need to look at.
There's difference in feedback and approval of voting or, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
We're getting feedback.
And the other thing I think was a good idea was, that we heard was, once we have the survey ready, to just send it out to us, and us take it as if we are and then get together again if we can, and see what the feedback was, because that's when we'll be able to identify where we had some flaws in our survey or in our questions, or before we send it out to the mass.
And just thinking about the setup of that too, would it be better to do that with just one grade level, brought in all of this input? Because once you get it set up, then you have to copy and paste it into another document, and you can just go in, you have to change it on every survey, right? If we had changed the questions or the prompts or something that we're asking them for, it wasn't giving us what we needed, would it be better to
I think you could pilot it with just one grade.
pilot it with just one
Just to
maybe?
see, and it's not to get our real feedback, it's just to see.
Right.
What do you think as we do it?
What I'm wondering is if, because we had said to try to get everything in a format where we could get feedback by May 12th, I think that was the date. If we could have one that we'd be willing to put in there and we all go online, and that we just get a survey together and we all go online and see, to take it ourselves, to get feedback. And sometimes I think it would be good to get good feedback and that just make up some stuff, to see how it comes through. To have one and then before everybody enter all of it for everything and then realize, oh no, we need to go back and change this, and this. If we have one as a dummy survey, that we take one subjects, get some feedback on it, see how we like that, if it's giving us what we need, and then go back and tweak it, and then go back in and everybody as a team and do their individual standards.
They should all, the way I would see it, is they all look the same except for the standards.
Right.
So it wouldn't be hard to.
That's why I just try with one, just try with one. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm gonna come back, to, so the question then, you know, if we want to limit, people to taking, or making, having a comment opportunity, you know, once per each, grade level workforce, then, you know, that requires them to have a Google account. I have not seen that as being
fine, you can say whether you want to allow them to edit or not edit, but what you have to do is only in a Google account, so you can know.
So that might be one thing, is that it's about doing it that way. Somebody could stop and go back.
Well, is there a way though that we could, because the comments are gonna be out there, that, I mean, that we're gonna have a link to the document itself, however we decide to do that, whether it's a Google Doc or whether it's a PDF and a Dropbox video, that if they can't get in the Google account, that they could make some general comments.
If there's like a mailing address or something that somebody that wants to do, I mean, and just hope that that's like a really small number of people, which I'm guessing it would be. Is that what you're thinking, that there's some
Yeah.
alternative?
Some alternative for people that don't really track what they are, like they may.
We could just set up an email account called HB Workgroup,
Yeah.
and they could respond to HB Workgroup at gmail.com or whatever.
Maybe an alternative for, and then, you know, small numbers.
And then if I respond, then we just have a list of all of the comments in here.
That way they can do that, and they can respond to the, and just say, respond by cluster, and just have a few little prompts there.
Put your phone, that's all caps.
I think we're overcomplicating it and trying to, I mean, the focus is just to get feedback. It's not to necessarily get feedback from every person in the state, because that's not gonna happen. So, I mean, yeah, it would be nice if everyone was honest about it and just took it one time. And there's gonna be people that go around it anyway. So since we know that the people that are determined to take it more than once anyway are gonna take it more than once anyway, why even mess with that?
That's fine, it's fine, Virginia. That's fine.
The thing that I see, and I did hear at those hearings a lot, was at least what they said about people not wanting, they're paranoid. They don't want to disclose any information about themselves.
Right, so then they're not putting in an email or anything like that. We're not tracking an email address for them. It's not, I just wanna know, are you a teacher, parent, administrator, or post-secondary? And even if we don't make those required, is you can choose whether it's a required question that they have to respond to, or whether it's a question for life, or those letters. And if that isn't required, I mean, I guess for those that are super worried about to come looking at the door, to get to talk to them about their
Julie,
students.
she's gonna get her a motorcycle.
And I'll go whatever the group thinks is best. I just think that our time is better spent coming up with what exactly we're gonna ask and how to focus that feedback as opposed to spending lots of time on whether or not we have an email and then post office box and everything else and comments. That's just not
Yeah, that's fine, I'm fine with it either way.
So, are you just saying the survey and that's it? Is that what this group is saying? I just want to know what to write on.
That's what I think.
I don't care.
So the links to, so basically, and just quickly, I would like to support the idea of just doing 6, 7, 8, Algebra 1, 2, and 3, Algebra 2 and beyond. In other words, 6 group, keep those together, and just I've been mulling that over in my mind. Because the Algebra 2 question is always, you know, what's next? You know, the huge question that comes in when it's Algebra 2. So maybe keeping those together for simplicity is just better. So I'd like to picture that. But then also, so then what we would be talking about is just putting, you know, 7 links somewhere. And 6 of them are the answer these questions, make your comments, whatever, and then the 7th one is the document as a whole. As a PDF, the draft watermark and all that stuff, you know, that, and so then that's, and how we publicize that is a separate question, but that's what we're talking about doing, that just anybody that can get on the web, can go to those links and lose themselves.
There you go. And now, we're about whether they think more than once.
Or,
So they don't, if they're.
I think sometimes you're gonna figure out by the verbiage that they use.
Yeah. And what makes it listen to the like,
There are some feedback on something, but they have to tell me why. You know, for somebody to say, I don't like this, you're gonna have to tell me why, because I need to understand to be able to make changes and adjustments. So you need to tell me specifically what's wrong. So are we fine with just leaving it open then and not tracking if it, I mean, the only thing I was thinking about would be a management saying if they get started with a survey, if they have a good low count, and they, who knows, they can make it.
But I like their idea of minutes.
It would be a short survey.
Yeah, and I like their idea if we put on there, this survey is expected to take about this amount of time.
Right.
Because then I know as a teacher,
Depending upon how
I
many-
probably can't take it right
Depending
now.
upon how many comments you want to make, although I think we need to limit that as well.
You're limited to 3 comments.
Yeah, we can do that. So, and David, it kind of sounds like you're our front runner to, put this together.
No one seconded my motion.
Okay, are you willing to look at that?
I can get some.
This might be-
Nancy, did you notice this, I recommended you like a pain down. Okay, I'm just going to run through this quickly to see what I missed. Debbie Miller, Google survey suggestion to include the river standards.
She was just in the country, so.
It's important.
And then-
Okay, hold on just a minute.
Thank you.
Deputy Jones, Google Forms, quantitative data needed, limited comments, possible direct on menu to identify clarifications needed. Survey for grade or course to include library skills, comment sections for cluster or domain, role of respondent, parent, K-12, teacher, post-secondary, admin, other, and I put et cetera in case we dream my buttons. Set up survey, so role of participant is linked to the data collected. Participant could choose to take any or all of the separate surveys. Provide a link of PDF copy of standards marked as draft for each course for participant to view while taking the survey. Identify the participant by geographic region so we can show where we collect the data. David Gertner will spearhead the design, chair of each of the 6 grade/courses will submit information to David. Grade 6, grade 7, grade 8, algebra 1, geometry, algebra 2, and beyond.
But I don't think David has to put it in, I think he designs it, then we can all put it in, is that not the case?
I don't know.
Is that not right, that we
We can
create?
have multiple collaborators. If you have a Google account.
Right, because if he designs it, then he can allow you to collaborate and do that, so, right.
Maybe on my subgroups, I know.
So he's gonna do it.
And
See, I don't think he should have input at all, because I think it's like that. Unless you want.
and then I put one survey per person/account question mark for decided ends. Is that correct?
So I don't think that has to be.
Caution, do not just take pure numbers of critiques to alter standards, view comments more globally to identify standards of great concerns. Suggest beta testing samples, set up a survey for members of workgroup to take and tweak before presenting to the public. Then I put set up email for those not wishing to identify themselves, decided against, survey only, and give approximate time for survey. Was there other stuff that I missed?
Did you put the urban program
In the geographic?
Or it's revised, school representative.
Let me see where I can put geographic.
Yeah.
Sure. Anything else, kids? Sorry, it'll take a little bit longer, but you'll know what the minutes are at the end, okay?
That's good. So I think that we decided on, if I'm not mistaken, Google Forms, and we're gonna, we want the data collected by clusters, as if they can, where they can make comments on specific standards possibly, but in a comment section, but not comments on non-comments or a survey on each individual standard. Is that what we decided on?
So what's your definition of cluster?
Well, yeah, that's another good question. Cluster of standards.
Well, we talked about which is leads to what's the thing, but we talked about the headings, how important the subheadings are.
Right, so whatever that's, I mean,
Whatever that is.
it's like or, right.
That's what I would think, that we might do.
Yeah, you would want to limit it in a cluster, I think, no more than probably than 4 or 5, because then it gets too big.
But they
you know,
I think it goes back to the criteria that Eric was talking a little bit about for the standards. What is our criteria? What do we want back? And I think if we ask our questions, I think they'll probably get it. But then after we take it ourselves, we might be able to figure out if there's some other things there. So, but part of that is I think we need to do now, or not now, but sometime, is come up and put up what do we want those to be. You know, and if David, if you want to grab my computer and post and just enter things in as we go along to see, feel free to do so. You can just log in and yourself and post it up so we can see as things go. So, do we want to, I guess at this point, I think we decided on SurveyMonkey, but we haven't decided on what our criteria is. Google, I'm sorry, not Survey. The guy at your district, Mike, I think used a different name, had SurveyMonkey. What was that thing called? He said they're the same thing. Was it? I think it's another company that's bought out SurveyMonkey.
Yeah, I forgot what he.
Because I've never heard of it before.
Okay, but, and that's what I was trying to raise, how, I mean, maybe I was just jumping
No,
around,
right.
but that's what I was trying to raise, is what do you want to?
So do we want, I can project up here and I can type them up. What are some of our ideas right now? And then we can try, do we want a Likert scale or do we want?
It's in the notes, yes, we do.
We can always go back and change.
Well,
So,
just caution us that what we really want to know.
right, exactly.
And again, these are gonna be numbers, so what you're gonna see is an amalgamation of all those numbers, you know, a report of average, Likert scale, you know, and I'm just cautioning because I've done these things and they've flopped. Because you get an average Likert scale that's right in the middle, what does that mean? A whole bunch of people like it, a whole bunch of people don't
I
like it,
don't like
nobody cares.
Personally, I don't like the scale 5. I don't like the scale 4. I don't have like an odd number, because somebody, they always go to them, I wanted to choose.
But again, I think we make it as simple as possible and give them the chance to comment because the numbers only tell us so much.
Right.
Right, you don't, I mean, when you see that, you know, average right in the middle, does that mean that everything is right in the middle, or does it mean that you've got roughly equal numbers of people that are equally
Right.
polarized, or do you have a whole bunch of people that are right here and a few people here, I mean.
But you can have it show you the number who said this and the number who said this. You
Right.
can get that too, so.
You had mentioned wanting to know if it's the grade appropriate or the, in Huntington itself, or Huntington, you said.
Clarity.
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 So could we have, like, a drop down with the standards in that subgroup cluster, whatever we're gonna call it, and then you click the standard and then click whether it's the appropriateness or the clarity, and have like an option for 3 or 4 of those, and then maybe a comment section, I mean, can we separate it out so we're getting, this is what they don't like about it, or are we getting, like you say, too huge, nobody's gonna take it?
We want specific, the comment section will be about the specific standard. So there may be a cluster standard. So if we're gonna gather the Likert scale or whatever on a cluster of standards, is that what we had talked about? Sound like,
We could do that, or we could do where they choose one, either this cluster or whatever we choose to call it, is developmentally appropriate or and clear as written, or it's not developmentally appropriate, or it needs further clarification, and choose one of those 3 things. And then underneath of the comments, they could say why.
If you choose.
Specifically, yeah, if you choose that
Let's
it needs
clarify.
clarification, then why? What needs clarification? Or if you choose that it's not developmentally appropriate, what's not developmentally appropriate about it?
What else would we want to know besides, is it appropriate for this grade level, and is it pretty clear? I mean, is it
Well,
clear?
here's my question.
Totally understood.
if it's not, so you're talking about the drop downs. If it's not appropriate for this grade level, do we want them to comment about where they think it should be? It's important mathematical content, and yes, it needs to be somewhere, but not at this grade level. I mean, do we want that kind of?
That's why I think we make the comment on explain grades or things like,
Yeah.
whatever
Not go there, I told you that, you know, I have a friend, but, yeah, so, but then, you know, if once you decide that we do need circle graphs, then are they in the right place? So those are two separate questions, so, yeah.
So, mathematical content, do we want to, how are we gonna, I mean, I think this is gonna take some time to practice the way we want, and then we'll tweak it and do some things. Is it best for us to work in this as a big group, or do we want to break off into the smaller groups and try to come up with some ideas and then bring it back to the group? What would you want to do?
We have to come in this brain to question, please. I think that what we're really asking here is appropriate mathematical content, not, okay, just is the
Is this
content.
the appropriate mathematical content?
Yes.
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 It's not, because you could think something is necessary, yeah, right.
You could think, we just want to know, is this appropriate mathematical content for Missouri standards?
Regardless of what grade level.
Right, some people may think that it's appropriate, mathematics, but it should not be, a standard. It shouldn't be tested or shouldn't be required of all students. You know what I'm saying? Like, I felt that a long time ago about box plots or about isometric drawings. That's a big one to me. That was fun. My kids loved it. It gave them some insight. But did every kid in the state need to know that? I never felt that they did.
Very practice that.
Yeah, I loved it, but that was a topic for me. So, is it, the content, the mathematical content appropriate for Missouri standards is what I.
Appropriate.
So you would just change that to state forms or anything, I like that.
You know what I'm saying? Do they think that should be a standard? Is question one. And then, is it developmentally appropriate for the grade level that we have it? Is the other
Okay,
one.
mathematical content is developmentally appropriate, because we're gonna do it by content. We're gonna do it by cluster as opposed to.
Well, I mean, it's within a grade band or course, so is mathematical content is developmentally appropriate for this grade level
It's great.
slash course.
And then take out the second one.
Yeah.
Because, okay.
First paragraph.
I think in your comment box though, I do think there is something you need to specify. I think your comment box could say, explain your answers and include any concept that you think is missing or should be deleted.
Or needs to be
Or
clarified.
changed, yeah, or clarified.
Well, but should we have one for clarification? Is that another
I
question?
really do think we want to know about clarity.
Yes, I do.
But, you know, is the language appropriate? Is it I mean, I think that's a big one that I hear you guys saying.
I agree.
Is it understandable?
Exactly, can you read it and correct specifically? What, yeah.
So I think I would keep it there.
Yeah, I like clarity. I didn't take it out.
I didn't take it out, I was gonna.
So standard is, how would you say that?
Clear as written
The
and
standards are clear.
Understandable?
Standard is easily understood.
Okay, so here, are we asking them to do a Likert scale on this?
I think so.
If we're gonna ask them to do a Likert standard, couldn't we make a statement like the standards are clear and have one, you know, like one no, one to four, like four, yes, it's clear, because we understand, so that we couldn't have that. So, rather than trying to word that the standards are clear, should we say clear and concise? Or just we say clear, because sometimes you don't want to be concise.
Yeah, that's such a strange
standards for parents, they didn't, so this is some work that you may need to do to help clarify that for your parents. Because there's an awful lot that, unless you're using it, they may have very well understood it, did great when they were in high school and in college, and then you have to use it for 25 years, and you go, what the heck is a violation with? You know, and so those are kinds of things that we definitely want to back.
I mean,
If
for
we can tie
example,
it
we can
together,
make something
yeah.
very clear, we're not fractions and say the top and how the arrow pointing to it.
Right.
That's not what we want to do.
Right.
We want to use an appropriate mathematical language, right? I mean,
Exactly.
that's, so, it's not just clear.
No. Yeah, so, and we want to make it so that parents can understand it, but there comes to a point where they may not know the terminology that's mathematical terminology. So, but that would be a good indicator to us and to everybody, if we get feedback from parents, who have clues to what this means, then that gives feedback that we can take to the state board, they're clear to the mathematics community. However, or to the majority of the mathematics community, because I'm going to tell you, I've been working with some teachers that don't know the difference between numerator and denominator. And so, yeah, or the alligator is the number. You know, but it's one side. So,
I have a problem with the alligator question. I think this though, but it's not just parents. I know that I emphasize parents last time.
right.
But there are going to be elementary teachers who don't understand the language of what Julie's teaching, and there are going to be high school teachers and post-secondary teachers who don't understand the language of primary teachers.
Absolutely.
When,
That's very
you know, if you tell me a 10 frame, I had to think, what are we talking
What
about?
about a reckoning?
You know?
A reckoning.
And I mean, it goes both ways.
It does.
So it's appropriate for that level, mathematically appropriate language for that level. It's not just parents, it's
No.
educators.
You're right.
too.
You're absolutely
Don't
right.
lose that. I would understand some of the stuff these two talk about, probably, even if you know they're technical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's, I
It's a
think
start.
that's all right.
It's a start to happen,
Yeah,
yeah.
because those surveys will tell us whether if the geometry of high school teachers say no is not clear, then we know we've got a problem.
Which brings up, because I was going to bring that up too, when we talk about teachers, do we want it for a high school teacher or if they're a middle school teacher? Or 7 through 12, because a middle school teacher may not understand the language of the high school that they use in the geometry class, or maybe something in algebra 2. I don't know.
Validity of
Right.
the feedback.
Right. So that might be something we might think about is, I wouldn't necessarily check which grade level you teach, because some people, like when I'm in high school, I can teach algebra and geometry, I can do everything, as well as there are schools that teach 6 through 12.
Everything, yeah.
Yeah, they teach them all. So they can check all that apply, they can teach middle school and high school, you know, they might teach them both, but if they don't teach high school, but yet they're making comments in high school, that might help us a little bit understand, okay, these are teachers, maybe they don't understand some of the terminology that's there. Right, yeah. So I don't know, that's something I hadn't thought of, but that might be.
So is this one of those things where you say, I don't know if one's going to be clearly understood or what you're talking about was, you know, or is going to be the opposite, but if they give a, what are you talking about, then comment requirements. You know.
Well, yeah, or at least that was what I was going to suggest. I don't know if you could do comment required, but at least you could do something that says in so many words, please explain.
Yes, I think that's what you do at the end of the, if these were three, we say, please explain and be specific, or please explain, what, and tell us what you would change.
So
Something like
tell me
that.
on this, when we have these three, I point to this, you guys can't, you see my screen? So would we want for each one of these, then like, are we gonna have like a Likert scale for each one of these with specific comments about each one, like a 1 through 4?
I don't, personally, I don't think you want specific comments.
When you say it's appropriate for Missouri standards, we in this room know what we're talking about. I'm not sure when a teacher, anybody, or post-secondary education or other, or whoever might take that knows what we're trying to find out. Would it be mathematical content is appropriate to include in Missouri standards?
Or should be included, here it's being clarified,
Right.
appropriate to mean should be included, and different people may have their own context.
I don't see the policy in a lot of difference between number one and two.
Yeah.
I think after they answer one, they'll say, well, why did they ask you again?
Well, I think being included in the standards is one thing, and then if it's appropriate for this grade level is another. Now, this is good content.
I think you could change mathematical content should be included in Missouri standards.
Or should be taught in schools, or, I mean, you're wanting to differentiate, a little bit more differentiation between the first state and the second.
Well, I think if you say should be included, it doesn't.
Yeah, and so we need to see the difference on whether it should be taught and whether it should be a standard.
That's true.
So I think what I want to know from them is this something they think that all students should know? Because that's what standards are setting, what every student should know. And when you think about the wide range of kiddos that you get in a classroom that are maybe developmentally, disabled or behind, and should they be required to know every one of these standards? Is that important to us, that every kid in eighth grade knowing everything here? Because there are things that I question whether every child has to know to be successful.
There's a lot of it that's announced too, that you have to go back to.
I like that wording, I almost wish, maybe we need to put an IE, all Missouri students should know this, or should
Well, and
meet the standard, I don't know. I know we know that means that it's in the standards, but I like that.
Yeah, that's right. And I don't know if everyone here wants to know that, but that's what I've always wondered if people felt. Is this really kind of, and I know this goes beyond just standard, right, but is that really something we want to test a kid on? Because that's what it's going to boil down to.
Yeah. See, she's a teacher still. She
Sorry.
wants to teach
Not
that
we
way.
are.
I'm sorry.
It is that, do we want to state at the very beginning, before we start doing the survey of the Missouri standards, are the things that every, not things, but is the content that every student
Is expected.
should know and be tested on by state testing, so they are aware the ramifications of that word.
I think we put that in the first thing, it's gonna be every single one of them. You remind, I like that, I think we should change the first one. Well, I don't know, all Missouri students should meet these mathematical standards. Or maybe that should be, in parentheses.
Even be able to demonstrate.
demonstrating understanding of their standards.
Yeah, you can say that.
I've been demonstrating proficiency.
And understanding these. And I'm working. And I just know that I wholeheartedly agree. We'll have an awful lot of people that will, especially when they get into high school, say no.
So I'm asking this really, do we want to know that? Do we want to know if they feel that all students should be tested on that standard?
Yeah, that's cool.
Don't you think? I think that we need to think about that, even though some of the stuff that we talk about is important mathematical stuff. Should every kid be required to be proficient on that?
Well, and even if that gives us a whole bunch of no, we shouldn't, at the Algebra 2 level for a whole bunch of stuff, and, who knows? I mean, it's not like we have to be bound by their views, but it starts a wonderful conversation.
And Kathy, I know that you said that can we put in there all students, in this course, or at this grade level should demonstrate. So, yeah.
Well, you do that, you're kind of, you're leaning into number that's what, some people are gonna see
I
that.
think
as
our
philosophical.
mindset is, I also think our mindset has been changed somewhat because of the No Child Left Behind Act, which there are things about it I like and things about it I don't like. But we used to have a lot of people say kids can't do this, well, we found they can. You know, so when they're saying this is too hard for kids, yes, they can. We may have difficulty, we may not understand it at the point where we really need to be able to teach it. But yes, if we provide the right scaffolding, the right teaching, then kids can work with it. You can't say, I couldn't get all my kids to put their name on the paper. You can do anything, so.
Well, it says should.
Yeah.
It doesn't say they will.
Yeah.
It says should.
Yeah.
I think that first question is really, use.
Yeah.
And it could actually be modified slightly for the algebra two and somehow, I don't know exactly what that would look like, but to recognize the fact that not everybody is going to be in that.
Yeah, you can say all Missouri students in algebra two, you can do that.
Well, and wouldn't that be then mathematical content is only appropriate for this grade?
It sort of is, but she's saying there's a little bit of a nuance.
Yeah, that everybody is going to be a sixth grader, everybody is going to be an eighth grader, but not everybody is going to be an algebra two.
Well, and then you also have those kids that jump from sixth grade down to one, that don't take seventh and eighth grade now.
Right, but you under, at least in my district, we have an understanding of how we actually do it, conversation, but at least there's an idea that they have to do it somewhere. We're not just saying, we're taking that whole content.
So,
Instead of these standards, does it need a little more clarity of the standards in this,
are the standards in this,
whatever we're gonna call this section?
in this,
I was looking
Of
at
the
it.
sixth grade, how do I really mean
It's just in this group, yeah.
in this big idea, in this
yeah, I'll just put
group,
cluster
in
and
this-
I'll put a question mark there. I'll
whatever.
block.
Block.
Or you can just say above. think you still let them explain.
Okay, please explain.
Okay, good. Please explain your response or comment below. I think you might give them an opportunity to say things like, I like it, or thank you.
Be specific.
Just like here, what would be a box or something?
Yeah, there'll be a
Because one of the things, well, one of the things,
Instead of people.
but one of the, yeah, well, but one of the things that we want to make sure to do is if they have a problem with one standard in our cluster,
Yeah, be
They need-
specific about changes you would make to specific standards or something.
what, but, and we're gonna have some outputting with the coding, so be specific. Because if, however, we have to code standard 1, 2, 3, or 4, A1, A2, A3, A4, they're gonna have to be specific.
There's another state that the survey all this was very generic, here's what we're doing, but they have a box that says, please identify the standard on which you wish to comment, and it says use the numbering system used within the standards. And then, they have one that says, please provide, when they were talking about comment or suggestion, it says, please provide sufficient detail that we can determine how the standard can be changed to meet the concern. And I kind of like that.
Sound, say that again. Be specific and use the numbering system
Used within the standards.
used within the standards.
And then, it also says, please provide sufficient detail that we can determine how the standard can be changed to meet the concern.
Okay. So, take one this.
Still needs. Nobody needs.
Yeah, I definitely.
Okay. So please explain your,
You can just say, please, no.
feel,
Now that we've got
please
that
make
other
comments
stuff.
below. Be specific and use the numbering system within the standards, or please provide sufficient detail that we can determine how standard could, and I like the word could, because could doesn't mean it will be. You know, because everybody thinks, well, I need this comment, so it has to be changed.
But it also lets them know that we're not just putting this survey out just for the heck of putting the survey out, right? We really want the feedback and we're gonna take into account whether or not we actually.
Provide your comment or suggestion.
Provide your comment or suggestion.
Yeah.
Provide,
Instead of make comments.
please provide.
Or just start with providing to that, please, right?
Please, you guys.
What is that again?
One, please.
Provide,
I was just suggesting, yeah.
provide your comments or suggestions for the.
I was suggesting the last concerns, just
We're gonna let them do one.
Provide your comments or suggested in the box provided. I don't want Fred flipping out and screaming with the preposition.
there you go.
In the space provided, I think the space provided, because we don't know what's going on. And is it a box that's a, is that a two-dimensional or three-dimensional shape? System within standards. Can you take that out? And then you can provide twice.
Like, the law.
What do I say in the same way?
Yeah, you use the word, you would call it 28 or put it at the bottom of your.
We can go back and say,
I have created a folder in the Dropbox folder that says survey, so it has the questions and the comments. And that way, I think that we could all maybe make a commitment over the next few days. We'll try to get it outlined as much as we can today, but when we leave and come back and think about it, we might, and here's my question too, would anybody have a problem with reporting this on some, folks in the elementary school group? So, because if they might be able to think of something that we're missing our language, because it would be nice if we had elementary, because let's face it, we're doing 6, 7, 8, but in the district I work in, 6th grade is in the elementary school gym. So, really quick 5-minute break and then come back and then break for lunch about 11:30?
I agree, but just a quick bathroom break for sure, but then to one more scope, how about please provide sufficient detail to show instead of determine? Does that make sense?
Okay, I'm gonna cross this one out so we can leave what we had there and then put in the word show. And then we can kind of look at that and decide which one makes sense to us. 5 minutes? Oh, how to indicate that?
I think we could just come up with a bunch of synonyms right now.
Let's just do it. Never give up after
Well, there you
that.
go to lunch break.
You should.
I don't understand why they don't listen to me.
Well, but if we can do a trial run and then it tweaks and adjustments to that.
I'd bet that learning a lot about the
This isn't one of our workers over here, is it? Something. They set a rule at the beginning that they have to have something. They got much people who just want to. They can't just set. Kathy, what's the K5 group, they made a rule, they had to have, what was it?
One more than 50%.
And they can't get it.
No.
That's where the algorithm is a good law. It means that.
Well, they can have the recording, keep the amount from 1490 or 1720 or something do I get started with you guys by sending off to some of those people? I know we have an answer back by today, but they can, they can distribute it and get some feedback from their third party. Right. Right. So I have 3 or 4 friends and folks that are, that I know that are on that, that I work with them on other committees. And so, do you have any objections to me sending them on to those folks? Just to get started, because they might come up with something that we didn't think of either.
I'm gonna call over to Betsy, or call over to, Tamika, so that when she comes, she brings paperwork for,
Oh, Laura and David. Let me see.
so that she doesn't have to make 2 trips.
I think I have her email address.
There's a sign option button over, and a stapler would be nice, or paper clips, as we all have.
Hey, Margaret, I don't think Jim has paperwork either.
Really?
Yeah, because she had mentioned.
No, but I think Tamika was gonna bring Jen a copy,
Oh, is she, okay.
but I wanted to add 2 more to
Okay,
it.
I didn't know what you, because she had said something. Sorry.
Hi, Margie, this is Margaret.
Oh, she's not. So I'll do that when I get home tonight, email them out to 3 or 4 folks, and see, and say, hey, please get this out to your group, these are the questions we're thinking about asking, put them in the folder. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go into the Algebra 1 Dropbox folder that we have, that we just made for Algebra 1 working team, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna send you guys all a link to one of the files in there, just to share it, just with you, so that, and then see if we can get that, and then I'm gonna delete that file later and see what happens.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's just to kind of do a trial run, to see if that can. Yeah, but, and I'll, yeah, and so I just wanna make sure that we can put that in there, because what we would wanna do is we wanna put that out there, and then we would want to remove it after a period of time, so that they can know that. All right, so I think we're got that part done, so public comment survey, we approved minutes. We did this. We've gotten that done. We don't have a lot of time, there's like, a few, probably about 30 minutes before lunch. Do we wanna talk about a couple of those quick things first, so we can get out of here and get back and, not have to wait for long lines for lunch? We can look at standards, do we wanna do the standards after lunch? Try to get some of these other things done before lunch?
I'm sorry.
I don't know.
We
I
have
actually
a number
wanted
of
to make
things on
sure
our
I had your name spelled
Looking
correctly.
at discussion.
Do you think what we just did was input the standards?
No.
Do you think it was, okay, what you crossed off?
Right.
Okay, so you wanna talk about what next?
Well, that's just it, is before lunch, if we wanna get out of here and go to lunch, you wanna get out of here a little bit before 11:30, so that if people go someplace, you don't have to stand in line for a long time. Okay, so what would be those things that we can take care of in a short period of time that are on here, before we go to lunch? Because I think the template for standards is probably gonna take us a little while, the discussion, talking about the process practice standards, and then talking
Well,
about.
let's decide if we want regional meetings or not.
Do you think we're gonna get enough feedback from this that we don't need regional meetings?
And even if we do or don't, do we want to have regional meetings? Because when I heard last time was overwhelmingly, they were not.
I don't, I'm not, the more I thought about it, the less I want to.
So what is the feeling here? Regional meetings or not?
I guess I'm good either way, but.
If they have them online, and the availability to have them online, if we can put that document so they can see the whole thing, maybe a cold read without us trying to give them information, that kind of information might be the best way for us to maybe after,
Let's
if
not
they've
do
improved,
that.
not improved, that we go out.
Without
and
trying
see.
to conversation with people. I don't.
Are you opposed to notifying every RTPC that they're up and out, or notifying every, just saying, these are out there to every school district?
I think we want to,
But not me,
no, yes.
just say, we want you to know these are posted for our comments.
That's what I think.
And so, and some of those, and we might think about the organizations, that rather than having regional meetings, like, we might want to talk about who are some groups that we want to make sure we can get the information out to, have the links, because they're going to be out of school. Teachers are going to be out of school, so we need to get the information up to start checking on dates that are open from this date to this date.
But we could, even before it's ready,
Right.
we could send things out saying it's going to be ready.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is
Before
that,
school's out.
that's what I'm saying,
Yeah.
is that if we say that.
Or watch for.
Yes.
Watch for, and not specific. Now, and I would really like to say that we might have the standards up by the draft, or by the mid, like the second week of June. I mean, I know we like to say June 1st, but I'd like to give us a little bit of flexibility that if we run into a snap week that we're not meeting until the 26th, 27th of May, that June 1st is really close by. To get all that information uploaded is going to take time. And I know with Google Docs, I read in there too that you can set a date as to when it stops. So when the survey, the link is no longer good, so you can make a, drop down deadline date for the survey is no longer valid. So I know the guys that those rules too.
So,
So,
2 weeks, we're talking about how long, 2 weeks, too little, too.
no, I was saying 2 to 3 weeks only because if people have already planned vacations and they're out of town for 2 weeks. Elementary school is not as much of an issue because elementary school, so many of them teach summer school. But I'm thinking a lot of high school teachers don't teach summer school. I don't know about middle school. So a lot of them that I know, they took off in June right away as soon as school was out. They do. I don't know if it goes to principals, I don't know exactly who it goes to.
Maybe this is just my personal opinion, since the legislators have kind of told us this stuff out. I'm not sure if we should impose that on them, but I think we can request that information from them, and we can send out a blast.
Well, and I know our.
I don't know what the role is supposed to be right now. Mr. Administrator, if you get their database, you can request information from them, you can check it on the purpose and what information you want. Well, we do that, like this Missouri Council of Teachers and Mathematics, and we want to advertise specifically the science ones, and I dropped it because I knew you guys were checking into it.
Right. I'm
So-
sure, and I'm pretty sure I've talked to Jeremy a little bit about, and I think they'll post a link when they just on the website,
Mhm.
but, they'll post the links, they just wouldn't post the survey, but I'm pretty sure, because they did the science survey, so I'm sure they would do that for us as well. I just don't know if I would want the K through 5 at the same time as the 6 through 12, because that would be like 13 minutes for them to choose stuff. That's up to K through 5, is how we do it, so.
Well, how are the HB1490 workers doing? It's still the first thing to get.
Right.
Get on the.
So if they clicked on that,
So, yeah, I mean, I know I told them we should change, and have to roll and machine the cost as well, notification, but information to do how that, but if just, if people just go to that thing and look at it.
Okay, so, on my list here, we have regional meetings as question mark. Are we saying no to regional meetings then?
We have to already go to
It's
no,
done.
I heard you say no, I'm not.
Yeah, so no.
Okay, now, please help me with this, notification survey, try to send to all K-12 districts, principals associations, MCTM sent to members,
MCSN, some members. And then
and
higher ed.
higher ed.
That's where it would be presidents.
Okay. So you take care of Matt Square and, higher ed.
Mackie.
And the other thing too is I work with, in many districts with teachers, and when I talked to them the last time, I said, would you be willing to take a survey in June that was available? And they said, as long as we know it's coming, we'll go out. And they wanted to get feedback from it, so.
What about,
Sorry.
neighborhood
Neighborhood
organizations and,
Yeah, I'm glad
what
you.
about PTA chambers of commerce?
Okay. The Greater Kansas City Chamber of Commerce is directly beneath us in Florida. I'll take the president's reserve properties. I'm sure.
What'd you say, Bob?
I said it was,
Not particularly.
In the Chamber of Commerce, one of my school board members is really active in the St. Louis area, I don't know if she knows the state people, but we can get ready to figure out that.
Yeah.
My principal won the lifetime PTA achievement award for like attending the most PTA conferences. We have some connections with PTA.
So you can find out maybe how we can get that out. Are there any other organizations?
would the, state board of education have any, who we're taking this to, I would think they'd be interested in getting the feedback, they have any contact.
Somebody they would want to make an information out.
It's just,
And that's the on Facebook. For all the 30 and 50-year-olds.
Well, we could send it, I mean, because they are, not that I'm particularly fond of all of them right now, thank you very much, but we could send it to make sure that we send it to the legislators.
That's true.
Yes, and no, I'm not fond of them now, because I don't think they respect educators, I need to show them what they think. They wouldn't understand them, but I would tell them.
And the NSBA to their constituents.
Yeah.
If they want to. Because a lot of them have, like, their reports and this.
Well, I think they would appreciate if we can get the geographic regions, and I would appreciate, knowing that we're going to get the possible to get out. Okay.
you said, yes,
So the report on what
Okay, this is what I put. Regional meetings, A, no regional meetings. B, notification of survey, try to send to all K through 12 districts, principals associations, MCTM send to members, MCSM send to members, Matt Squared and other higher ed, EPA, Chamber of Commerce, and legislators.
did you say MSBA?
NSBA, LMFD.
Okay, so we got that taken care of. Before lunch, can we maybe knock out the dates for July and potentially August? And then the other thing that we might want to do give out to everybody, because we like to take them back, purpose to Desi. When we take all this equipment back
Even if
for
we
today.
got the
For
other
today,
stuff.
yeah, that they will, here's what, she said, is that they like them back today, but we won't get paid until the end of August. Because there's some information in there that they haven't had for the year. So if we fill this out, take it back to them, and that we can put it in the file, and as soon as that other paperwork is sent back, then we can turn it first. Is that, we're gonna try to get that done, so like after lunch, we can come back and have it. Okay, so, dates for July and August. Can you bring up the calendar?
We have July 10th and 24th.
We had a couple of them down.
And 24th.
I have them down on the calendar. Here's my question, we have those 2 dates, those 2 Fridays. Do we want, because we put them down reserved because we weren't sure if we wanted one or both of them. Do we want to do 2 different Fridays, or do we want to come in 2 days? Rather drive in once than drive in twice?
I thought one of the purposes was to make purposes. Was so that we could see the initial results of the thing and then come back to say, or revisit it after we revisited the small groups. I thought that was the initial thought, but sometimes I make stuff up when we're doing those.
I agree with these, I think.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So I'm
And I know we
open
did
to
on,
either.
but we did on Fridays originally, because you guys were going to be out on the road for the TV, and that's not happening.
We're not gonna be on the road.
So that was the meeting that we did those Fridays. And I know though that I would almost hate to change that from the perspective, that's kind of what, Rosa put down on her calendar, because she wanted to know for vacation purposes and things of that nature to get things scheduled. Although if we changed one day, I don't think it would be as long as. She was. She was. So, probably, yeah, it would be. And I guess personally, I'd rather come down for 2 days than come down one day and then drive back down another day.
Well, if we're gonna do that, and think that, we need to at least get our data ahead of time.
Right.
When is our, when are we planning on getting it? We want, have we decided that? Because that makes a difference.
Well, if we go back and, here's the deal, is if we got if we did the opening that we went, let's say the surveys were open from June 8th, that gives us a couple of days, that gives us a little bit of wiggle time, if they're June 8th
Through the 26th?
through well, or even, maybe not even through the 26th, but at least 2 to 3 weeks through the 25th, because I think on Friday we're probably not going to get around folks. I don't know, it doesn't matter. So would we want to put the survey out on June 20, on June 8th? Is that when we want to start? Or do we think we can have it by June 5th?
You could always put the 8th, and then if we got it done earlier, surprise, we got it done earlier, okay.
Okay, we could say surveys will be available no later than June 8th. So surveys will be, pardon? What?
Survey.
I'm afraid to say no later than eight.
In June.
We can say what year.
Okay.
And it could be at 11:59 p.m. on June 8th. And it could be,
I'm not trying to be late, I'm just saying.
well, we always have things that crash, like wait for the last minute to put something in, and it doesn't help.
And then when you're, not, we don't say that it's available.
So what if we said,
Look forward to early June.
Look for a survey to be posted in June.
That's what I said.
and then on the webpage, what we say on the webpage, survey will be available until, so that we can, if we can get them, say, survey will be available from this date to this date, and cut it off. Okay, so, what do you got, I mean, I think 2 weeks is cutting it a little tight, but I wouldn't have to, like, the 2.5 weeks.
8th through the 26th, that gives us
Okay.
2 weeks before we meet.
Okay.
So that we can review the data.
Sounds good?
So if we're gonna go to a 2-day meeting, I would go early on Monday.
So if we needed to make a date as well, we could, and plus you have college classes that are coming up. So is it a problem if we change this, July 24th date to July 9th and 10th?
Is that Thursday, Friday?
And as I say, I have to go back to you, I may have a conflict on the 9th, and I'll go back and check.
I'll be accepting anniversary presents at that time. I'll just bring them to the shower.
So I'm gonna put a question mark, HB1490 on this date.
Are we question marking it, or are we doing it?
You want to just go ahead and do it?
Well, I don't see what
I-
the group has to do it.
And I may not be able, there's something I think is about that date for me, but that doesn't mean everybody else can't even talk about the date before they work. I can look at it before.
How many people want to meet 2 days instead of 2 Fridays? 2 days in a row, instead of 2 different Fridays? I don't really care. I want to do 2 separate days apart.
Fridays, I got 2 whole weekends.
Okay, so we'll do 2 days in a row. How many people are okay with July 9th and 10th?
Are we giving a numeric value of 1 through 4?
Or you can agree. Or you could just say, no, meaning no opinion.
I'm okay with the 9th, I leave on the 10th for vacation, but if it's good, cancel.
All right, so are we done for 9 and 10?
Okay, fine. Yeah, 9, I think I'm 9 and 10, I think I'm gonna be fine.
Yeah.
Let's see my other dates here.
So now we're giving 9 for the first day, 3 for the second.
8 or whatever. I'd almost like to say 9 to as late as we can go on the
Well, I
first day.
think
and then
starting
get out
at 9,
early.
starting at 8.
I would, yeah, exactly, I wouldn't mind getting out here by earlier on that Friday if we can really, I'd work late that evening if we can do that, yeah. I mean, if we get a room over here and they'll let us stay in here till 6, I'm fine with staying here late and working and coming in the next day and getting out early, so.
I would probably, on the 10th, I would say it's going to be out of your mind.
I'm just thinking, I'm going to go on vacation.
Yeah.
Where are we going? Where are we going?
Happy Island, Georgia.
Oh, I love Georgia.
You guys can join me on my vacation the week before when I'm cleaning house.
My daughter was at undergrad in Georgia. At Atlanta.
Okay, and so this one on the, that we have originally scheduled for the 24th, we're not gonna hold that one, is that correct? I'd rather do, and I mean, unless a group, we might keep it there if there's one group that wants to come in and work on, because you're gonna have to revise the standards that based on this, if you want a work day, but I don't think we would probably come back together as a whole group. Is that okay with everybody?
July 9, 10, whole group, is that correct? And reserve July 24th.
Fourth
based on
as,
first visit.
like, that could be a day that you could put on your reserve calendar, whether you met together here as a team, or you video conference, Skype or something about what needs to be done as a working kind of day to get stuff done.
Or if it gets too hot outside, you can hear it cool down.
There you go, I like it.
Although I bet you when it's hot.
I like that stuff too.
I was thinking the same thing, reversal of that. Okay, so we've got those dates down on the calendar, so that's done. So we really have 3 things left to discuss.
So we still have August, that's what I was
Oh, that's
Should we
true, thank you.
review?
Yeah, let's look at August. I think we're gonna need to look at August. We were talking about August and if necessary, September, although what somebody told me, whether this is true or not, is that it says October 1st. Do you 2 know, do we have to have the standards in it by October 1st?
10 days.
Or 10 days before? So we have to have the standards to them in the middle of September. Would that be correct? So
I
back,
assume it's 10 business days.
I would assume
Maybe it
as
was
well.
something that's wrong, but I also don't know when the board meeting is in October.
So, what according to that, they have to be to the board, I would say, by the 16th of September.
That August 1st may be the thing we need
you check on that for us, though, and find out for sure? I'm just gonna say standards to the state. On October 1st. Okay, so August, we had talked about August 21st, which I can't do now because I have a meeting, but that's okay. I might be able to possibly. Yeah, but,
The state board of education meeting day
okay.
for October, October is the 26th and 27th, 2016 and 27th day. September is the 14th and 15th.
Well, then, if it's 26 and 27, then October 1st is pretty good, so we're fine with that. So in August, do we want to set a date in August? And a date in September? You said, somebody said you had the 21st down? Is that what you made down on the calendar? So I didn't, yeah, I don't think we had set anything for, because you guys were thinking that maybe by this time you might know about your college classes this fall. Do you know anything about that?
So, yeah, that's back in the workshop, so I can get out. That's Friday, the 21st.
Okay, so I'm going to put down, because I might be, knowing what meeting it might be very good for me this year. So we put it down tentatively as August 21st. Anybody else have any issues on August 21st? Because I know that's a start. One or two days. Here's my thought
I had a
is,
hard time pulling off.
here's my thought, yeah, because we see 2 school days is what about if we had groups that needed to work as a team, like let's say the 7th grade middle school wanted to work, that they could decide upon themselves at that time if they wanted to work there or stay at the hotel or something, you could stay at night and, come in the evening before and work or stay that night and work. Because
That would be nice for them 2 days that week, schools.
yeah, at the beginning of school year, I would not think. I would say that we could come and stay over and work on Saturday. When we did the learning goals, we worked on Saturdays instead of taking out that day of school. So, no, it isn't, but it could be, if everybody wanted to stay at the same hotel.
Right.
Then they could work through the next day. So they could work a lot more of the hotels out and area which would get some. But if we put down the 14th, the 21st, and then individual groups decide if they need to meet, they can do that.
Say the 14th,
Excuse me, I'm sorry. The 21st. The 14th is something I have to figure out, sorry. On the 21st, we're gonna put that down as a meeting day. And then if teams individually wanna meet before or after to work on their standards or their draft, then they can. But that would be up to you. 2 days out of school at this time of year is too much for teachers to miss at the beginning. What about, so the 21st we're gonna put down, what about September?
Hiring people to be to during the day of the week.
He hasn't started school yet, has he?
trying to think of my schedule.
I mean, it's a post the Monday, Wednesday, Friday, then we need to do a Tuesday, Thursday.
No. That would be Friday. Friday still is good as any.
So what is the good group in September? If we just met on the 21st of August, what about dates in September?
From my understanding, it has to be the
State board.
state board by 16, so we can.
Well, I think it's.
No, since she said that, she looked up the meeting to be the end of October.
Excuse me, the HB 1490 says, the work group shall develop and recommend academic performance standards to the State Board of Education by October first.
So we have to.
So it is October first, we have to have them to
Done.
the State Board.
So maybe not meet after the 16th.
No, we submit them on October first, we have to submit them on October first, so we can meet after this, after the 16th.
And I will, by the way, check with Betsy to make sure, because they are the extension of the State Board. I'll write to them today and say, the way I'm reading this on page 13, it says this, we are taking that as our deadline, is that okay?
Yeah.
If you're finding out then, oh, by the way.
Surprise, you're too late. Surprise, surprise.
So what day in September would we want to do this?
About the 25th.
Yeah, is that okay with folks?
That's what I'm gonna say, 18.
Let's get on hopefully after.
Well, I mean, I think it's good to set these meeting dates, but,
We have to change.
by the time we're meeting in July, we're gonna have a better plan, so.
If we had, and if we need to add one on or take one away, because there may be some groups that have more work to do than others that may decide, let's take another day of time to do.
So what was September, please?
September was the 25th.
We're not meeting in June, is that correct?
We had, did we have?
June is the survey.
Survey. I think that would be up to your individual teams if you want to keep working, but we're doing the survey, the survey's coming out in June.
We won't
So,
know.
we don't know, yeah.
We want to hear it and then they,
Right. So this is what I have, please correct me.
Okay.
I have dates. A, survey posted June 8th through 26th. B, change July work group meeting dates to July 9th and 10th. C, reserve July 24th as a work date for small groups, so I won't cancel that. D, meeting of Holbrook on August 21st. Correct?
Yeah.
And E, meeting of Holbrook on September 25th.
Sounds good.
And F, submission of standards to State Board October 1st.
Sounds good.
Is that right?
Okay. So, it is 10:25, are we breaking for lunch? Everybody okay with breaking for lunch now? Because I don't think we can get into what we've done in 5 minutes. So, while we break lunch, what time do we feel, do you want to come back? Is 45 minutes enough time to eat? Okay, so why don't we say, let's start back up at 12:15? So, okay, time to break for lunch, got a lot of work done this morning, good job. Woo-hoo.
We're at high performing team.
We are,